In the past, Bill Nye the Science Guy has hinted at his support for jailing anybody who questions the scientific consensus on climate change.
What's your thought on jailing skeptics as war criminals?
Well, we'll see what happens. Was it appropriate to jail the guys from Enron?
Interesting.
Okay, right. So we'll see what happens. Was it appropriate to jail people from the cigarette industry who insisted that this addictive product was not addictive and so on?
But why would Bill Nye want to jail people who question the current scientific consensus when by his own standard he would be jailed for questioning the current scientific consensus that there are two genders? He's questioning it so much that the recent uploads of his original 1990s hit show, Bill Nye the Science Guy, that are now being uploaded to Netflix, they actually edited out the scene in one episode where Bill Nye has a guest, a girl, say that the genders are binary and that it's determined genetically via your chromosomes.
See, inside each of our cells are these things called chromosomes, and they control whether we become a boy or a girl.
Did you know 97% of climate scientists agree that humans cause global warming? But did you know that 97% of climate change alarmists have only one argument? And that is that 97% of scientists agree that man-made climate change is a threat? This is what you call consensus science. It's science via blind faith. It's science via, well, all the other smart people in lab coats agree, so it must be true. I don't even know half the arguments or experiments they've conducted, but it must be true because they have degrees and lab coats, right? Consensus science. It's a prime example of how intelligence does not equal regurgitation. Link to the shirts below. And the irony is that by Bill Nye's standards of jailing anybody who questions the current scientific consensus, Bill Nye should be locked in prison for questioning the current scientific consensus. Because I guarantee you the notion that there are only two genders determined by the distribution of chromosomes, I'm pretty damn sure that's still scientific consensus. I'm sure 97% of geneticists still agree that there are only two genders determined by the distribution of their chromosomes. And that's what I love about the pro-science crowd. I love science, and I love the scientific method. But what I can't stand are the pseudo-intellectual pro-science fanboys who do not conduct experiments for themselves, who aren't actual intellectuals in anything, but just blindly trust whatever the guy with the degree or the lab coat says. If he has a degree, if he has a lab coat, it must be true. Even if the studies are coming out of these debt factories called colleges and universities. You know, these debt factories that seem to attract SJW maniacs. You know, SJW maniacs with the same twisted worldview that Bill Nye is now pushing in his new Netflix show, Bill Nye Saves the World from Reason, Bill Nye Saves the World from Science, Bill Nye Saves the World from Empiricism, Bill Nye Saves the World from Logic, Bill Nye Saves the World from Scientific Consensus, is what it should be called. Even in his show, he's now pushing the same SJW mentally ill worldviews that you find on college campuses nowadays. But hey, if he has a lab coat and he calls himself a scientist, he must be legit, even if the scientist is funded on the backs of the debt of SJW students in university. And this is my problem with the mainstream science movement, or scientism, whatever the hell you want to call it. I'm tired of the appeal to authority. I'm tired of the appeal to consensus. I'm tired of people tyrannically imposing what they believe is truth, not on the basis of an actual awareness of the science, but just because, oh, a scientist somewhere said it, must be true. Bill Nye, he questioned what he believes to be wrong science, because now he's saying that science was wrong. And that's what I love, because science, newsflash, sometimes science is wrong. Okay? It doesn't mean I'm anti-science, but there's a difference between being open-minded that basic scientific conclusions could be wrong and blindly believing things and then vehemently defending them and calling anybody who questions the current scientific consensus, calling them a pseudo-scientist. Okay? Or calling them anti-science. Questioning things is the essence of science. You bullshit, fake-ass, atheist, pro-science fanboys. I mean, I was disgusted to find out that there were so many atheists in my subscriber count. Disgusting. You know, and it's not all atheists, but a lot of them, man, they went crazy when I did my video exposing physicalism/materialism. Lawrence Krauss's physicalist reality. They went bonkers. I got hate messages like crazy. It was like, I felt like I was being persecuted by Christians or some shit from 400 years ago or something. All right? So these atheists are ridiculous. And you're not pro-science because you're actually part of a blind religious cult called atheism. That's right. And really the underlying philosophy, the worldview belief system of the atheists I'm talking about, not all, but the ones that I'm talking about, it's called physicalism. That's the underlying religion that you guys cling to, and you don't even know it. That's what's sweet. That's the delicious irony of it all. You guys love to bash religion, but you're part of your own blind belief cult system called physicalism. The assumption that we live in a purely material reality bound by physical laws. Even though, according to Lawrence Krauss, all this shit, the entire universe can pop out into existence with no prior causality. That's right. And by the way, the pseudoscience fanboys are going to trash me in the comment section now, say, you don't know what you're talking about. Where's your degree? Oh, you mean the same degree that of the guest Bill Nye has on his show to push the notion that there are more than two genders? Okay? So see, this is what you call fallacious arguments. So Bill Nye is a pseudoscience guy, and it's interesting that he would advocate for jailing people who question the current scientific consensus when, clearly, according to Bill Nye, sometimes scientific consensus is wrongo. That's right. Sometimes scientific consensus is wrong. Go read the book, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. I'll put a link in the description below. And it talks about how science goes through paradigm shifts. In fact, I believe the author of that book coined the term paradigm shifts. Because a lot of times science clings to a worldview, certain beliefs, certain assumptions, and they turn out to be wrong because the scientific method proved it wrong, and a new paradigm comes in of new knowledge, new facts, and new understanding of our reality that's based on an even more precise measurement, more precise experimentation. So sometimes science is wrong, and clearly that's what Bill Nye is saying. And labeling people who question scientific consensus as being anti-science, you're the anti-science person here. You're the most anti-science one because you shame and bully people who question scientific consensus. You're not intellectuals. You're part of a fucking religion called pro-science, scientism, atheism, physicalism. I don't care what you want to call it. All right? You're not actually pro-truth. You're not actually pro-objective reality, and you don't even realize it. That's what's twisted. But it's very evident in the reaction I got from atheists. Their very deeply emotional reaction. I got messages from people who just went pure ad hominem. All they did was make insults and trash talk me. And I would give them an elaborate, extensive reasonings for why I believe what I believe. And I would ignore their ad hominem. And they would just be like, oh, you're full of shit, fuck you. Like, these are pseudo-intellectuals, man. The atheist community is not about truth. All right, the physicalist community is not about truth. It's probably just about, I don't want to go to church on Sunday. I want to have random unprotected sex with people. It's not about truth. It's about rebelling against the restrictions on your behavior that religion imposes. And I'm not saying I'm pro-religion. I'm just talking about the psychology of the average physicalist. So there it is. Bill Nye, the pseudoscience guy, admits that scientific consensus is sometimes completely wrong, despite him advocating for jailing people who question scientific consensus. Thank you guys for watching. Oh, and don't forget, this video might have triggered a couple people. Triggered a couple people. Get your triggered t-shirt. Some people are triggered by your right to pull the trigger in self-defense. The Second Amendment. Safe spaces since 1791. You want to talk about safe spaces? Let's talk about the safe space created by your right to shoot back in self-defense. Use the First Amendment to loudly and proudly proclaim your support for the Second Amendment. Trigger t-shirts are now available. They're a great hot seller. Get them now. Links in the description below and the card above. Thank you guys for watching.
Fight back against YouTube censorship by supporting me on Patreon. You'll also get access to exclusive, never-before-seen videos and other perks like monthly Google Hangouts with me, free books and t-shirts, and more.